Okay, great. I'll get started with facilities. I'm chairing tonight. Let me welcome people to the Facilities Committee meeting. Um, First on the agenda is we'll do roll call, and I'll just go in the order that I see people on the screen. Mr. Schultz,
Present.
Ms. Haywood,
Present.
Mr. Epps,
Present.
Ms. Mulhern,
Here.
Mr. Fishbein,
Here.
Ms. Sloman,
Here.
Mr. Burdell Williams,
Present.
and Pam Henry will be back momentarily, and I'm here, David Cohen. Thank you. Next, we have the minutes from March 1st, 2022. May I have a motion to approve those, please?
So moved. Zachary Epps.
A second, please.
Second, Jennifer Lohman.
Any comments, proposed changes? Thank you. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Anybody opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. And let me turn the meeting over to Mr. Holman. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Holman.
Thank you for that. I want to share my screen. That's not true. All right. Pretty quiet month at Shellingham. Of course, our mission statement, our vision statement, we know why we're here. District roofing repairs.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holman. Sorry to jump in, but your screen's not being shared yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. We see
Is
it
it
now.
bad
Thank you.
shared?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. United States Roofing Corp was on site to repair multiple leaks over the auditorium at Elkins Park School. They are also on site to replace broken slate shingles at the admin building. They also submitted a change order for the following additional services: mobilize a high reach lift to replace broken slate around the leak areas at the admin building. Once the slate is replaced above the leak areas, they will continue replacing broken slate. This cost is for a 2-man crew for 6 days. The administration is recommending the approval of a change order for United States Roofing Corporation for a total amount of $17,270 for additional repairs to the admin building. This is Glenside. A couple months back, I showed you pictures of unprotected gas main or train outside of Glenside Elementary School, and that is the remediation of it. So we have protection outside of Glenside. So we had a great week, or month rather, in training custodial personnel. Here we have a machine called the Kaivac. It is a touchless machine that it cleans your restrooms, our restrooms, without human interaction. No toilet brushes, no squeegees. So what it does is it's a pressure washer, how you power wash your car. It has its chemicals on board, sucks the water up, and it's a great time saver. As you see, we had factory training from the representative from the factory. This is our playground repairs. We had some playgrounds that needed some work done to them, and this has taken place. And they're also they're going to inspect all of our playgrounds to ensure that they're safe for our students and visitors. Hazardous chemical disposal. This is our admin building in the back. This is all floor wax, floor stripper, paint, any chemicals that are all expired. So our environmental control, who is our consultant, they will be on site to complete an evaluation and to properly dispose of all materials. They'll be here next week, I believe. So now I'm going to come over to stop share. You gotta be patient with me now because I'm doing something that's outside of my share screen. Boom. Share. Can you see my screen now? That says asset calc. Okay, good.
Yes, thank you.
So what this screen is, this is a facilities condition assessment that shows all of our buildings and also the cost of yearly upgrades, right? So this is the high school, for example. I have the ability to run the pick the school or pick a number of schools. I have the ability to change the inflation rate. So we're keeping it at 0 right now. And then interiors, click on it. It says interior floor finish, lockers. Then it has, we go down to fire alarm systems. Let's focus on our immediate fixes for the high school. Year 1, which is 2020, fiscal year 2020, $261,000. Short term, year 1 to year 21 to 22, 3.7 million. Near term, which is 3 to 5 years, which we're coming up on now, is 11.5. So if we extend this out, the cost to repair our building, our high school, is $54 million at the end of 20 years. That's the total cost if you add all those numbers up. Would anybody like to see the increase in inflation if I make a number up? No? Okay. All right. So
I'll pick a number. I'll say 5%, hoping that it starts to go down sooner versus later.
Right. So we'll go 5% and run the report. So that comes up to $101 million over the 20-year period for the high school. So this, putting out there for thought, conversation, that we may embark on some, having some meaningful conversations on the high school. So, and I'm going to go back to stop share. I'm going to go back to the, and I'm going to go to share my screen. Desktop 2, share. All right, so that brings me to the last slide, which are our work orders that we completed through the month. Any questions on my presentation? What am I doing? Okay, good.
If we actually went in order, it was Mr. Epps, Ms. Mulhern, and then Mrs. Haywood.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mrs. Mulhern may have had me, okay, but I'll go. Just quick, that was for the high school. I appreciate the presentation, even taking us right into the system to be able to see the numbers and the specific projects. All of that is helpful. That figure, even in that 3-year you mentioned, is for the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, do you know even a ballpark figure if we scope that out to the other schools as well, what that cost would look like?
Yep. Let me, I could do that right now. I'll do without sharing the screen.
This is what I would, Mr. Holman, this is what I would recommend. I would recommend putting together an update of all schools.
Okay.
That could be part of a weekly update for the board,
Not a problem.
rather than taking the time now to walk through all of that.
Got you.
I just want to frame for the board the reason for showing that. The high school right now, it is a priority based on the recommendations from the experts. So I wanted to start big picture with the high school. As you guys are well aware, Elkins Park would be next. But this schedule is just showing the preventive maintenance that needs to occur in each one of the campuses within our district and what the cost would be. It's really saying that we now need to really be strategic with investing some money in capital improvements, just to be quite frank. And the longer we take to do it, you see what the inflated cost is going to be the longer we wait. We can prioritize based on greatest need with respect to project and school. But our backs are really against the wall right now in terms of needing to start to take some constructive or some proactive measures with addressing facilities. So that's why we just started with the high school. I'm just giving you some additional context. So Ms. Epps, I'm not sure if there were any other questions, but we'll forward the layout for every school so all of you have it for your review.
That context is important and helpful, and I appreciate it. And then, so just so what I saw, just as a kudos, I saw in terms of the training, it cuts some of the time in half. So I think that also in terms of a lived experience, that means folks will have they're better equipped to do their jobs, which is really good to see. And especially that there'll be a machine for each building in the near future. Is that part of something that's already planned, or is that depending on, does that need to be budgeted, or is that something that's already been planned?
It needs to be budgeted. However, it's in my extended fiscal year planning for next year. So we have 4 now, and we had 2 from prior to my start, and then we bought 2 more, and once we get, we'll have 2 for the high school, so we'll have 7. We'll have 7. So yeah, so we'll have 2 for the high school. So every other school doesn't, they need just 1. So.
Ms. Melhor?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Since we just left off with the facilities, well, this is a facilities meeting, but that particular question that Mr. Epps had, can I clarify what you showed us? Does that come from the facilities, I guess, audit? Is that the correct thing that we did? Was that last year, this year? I can't remember when it was done. It was before me. So that's where that information all comes from, when we had everything assessed big picture. Okay.
Correct. This is from the Bureau Veritas audit that was done in 2020.
Okay.
So, no point of spending new money for different audits, and once we have a pretty succinct and comprehensive one. So.
No, absolutely. I just was confirming that was what, in fact, we were looking at. Thank you. And I just want to also say thank you for the work on the playgrounds. I recognize that as EP's playground, I believe, and very excited that playground is hopefully up and running, because I know the students have been waiting for quite a while to have it functional. And it was reported to me by one of my children that they even saw a worker test out the slide after they were finished putting it together. And I think the kids all thought that was pretty funny to see a grown-up. So I don't know if that was a facilities person or someone from the contractor, but either way, it's always good to have a little laugh. So thank you.
Yes. We're trying our best to get things up and running and good repair. So we're working hard.
Thank you.
Mrs. Haywood?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holman, for that report. And thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams, for putting in the chat that it was the facilities condition assessment that was done in 2020. So I know that we've talked as a board to have a facilities plan for some time. And I know that I was on hold until we, addressed some other issues. And so, Dr. Scriven, I think when you were talking about getting back to the board kind of with a more fulsome list of the facility priorities, that's what will be coming out of that. I know that's not going to be necessarily a full-blown facilities plan, but it'll be one that highlights the priority areas that need to be
Have
taken
been
care of.
identified. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All righty. And then could we, as part of that, have a sense of whether that is money that, based on those priority projects, whether it's money currently earmarked in the budget or something that we would have to borrow to make changes for?
Something that we would either start to make the necessary investments internally
Mhm.
or borrow. So a combination is probably what I'm thinking, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
Mrs. Hayward.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful for the board, at least for me personally, to have a sense of what of those items would be, could be in the budget, and those that we need to think about borrowing money to actually retain. And the second piece of that is, we know that we have longstanding issues with the high school and with Elkins Park. And this is a much bigger discussion than we could have tonight. I understand that in terms of wanting to be comfortable that whatever we're spending is more short term, so that we're not kind of, as I say, throwing good money after bad. So that we have systems that may need to be replaced, but we're talking about possibly changing buildings or buildings if we need to. So I know that that's a larger conversation, but just wanted to kind of put that out there. And then my next question is, Mr. Holman, for the machines, they look really pretty cool. The one that you showed us, the yellow machine.
Yeah.
Is that, I'm sure that also reduces the amount of time.
Correct.
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
And so the question I have is in terms of, you said we have 4 of those machines right now,
Mhm.
and we're looking to purchase 3 more. Are there warranties associated with that equipment as well?
Yes, there is. There are the manufacturer's warranty, and they're just it's a pressure washer, so that the only moving part is a compressor and a vacuum. So, and they're what can I say? The casing or that yellow piece, that's the only part that's proprietary. So, yeah, and that's just a tub. So,
Okay.
yep.
Great, thank you so much. And a related question, whatever chemicals we may use with that piece of equipment,
Mhm.
are those environmentally,
Yep.
what's the word? I can't even think of the word. Appropriate.
Yes, they are. They are environmentally appropriate, number one, and they're also safe for our students. And so yes, they are. We only use the approved chemicals far as the safety. The last thing we want is somebody having an adverse reaction. That's something that isn't safe. So
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Burdell Williams, please.
Thank you. Actually, I think my question will likely be answered as a part of the evaluation of those priority projects, but I guess just intuitively thinking here, that I guess it would make sense for there to be some correlation between like the number of work orders that we have in School Dude as a way to like correlate those priority projects. Like I know we have the facilities condition assessment, which, I think takes a snapshot really at the buildings and time. And I would expect that in addition to that, we would likely have additional information within School Dude that would likely like better or more current information based on day-to-day operations. I'm spitballing now, and I'm sure like as a co-chair, we probably could have discussed that, but I just wanted to reference that, likely should provide us with some data that would be very useful in prioritizing.
So, Mr. Burdell Williams, there's 2 tracks that we'll be looking at. One is the one that you referenced, kind of related to School Dude, which is more preventive maintenance. And then the other track is actual capital improvement. So they're 2 very important tracks, but we would look at doing parallel work. But to your point, 2 completely different buckets that we would be identifying.
If I may, it's like School Dude is grease a window track or repair a window pane, whereas the FCA is change the windows because they're not efficient far as keeping the heat or the air in. It's like Dr. Shriven saying, they're equally as important, but it's just it's just the different scope of the FCA.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that framing it as looking at it as more, ongoing repairs, corrective maintenance / preventive maintenance.
Absolutely.
Looking at the capital investment as something that's, more so driven by that higher level view. That makes perfect sense. It was more so just me throwing out the recommendation that for all of what time and energy has been invested in School Dude, that I will hope we would be able to glean from it some amount of useful information other than just tracking our progress, right?
Yes.
Like closing work orders, that's great. And what else can we get from it, right?
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Hey, Mr. Burdell Williams, just know there'll be 2 separate budgets. So there'll be a budget driven by School Dude, and then there'll be a budget driven by the capital projects as well.
Sure, understood. That makes sense. And that was actually the only question I had at the time. And I'll second Ms. Mulhern's comment about how cool it is to know that an adult was testing the slide. I'm jealous to an extent, but I'll allow the meeting to continue. I'll give back my time there.
Okay, thank you. And I have several questions and comments. The first, following on the theme of capital versus operating of buildings, capital improvements, is just a request or suggestion. I'm sure will be looked into, just as a matter of practice, that we also look at the debt ceiling and also that the cost to repay any additional debt that we incur when we build new buildings. And tied into that, I think inevitably, even with the best intentions, that when we plan to do buildings, having been around a while, both with the school district and also with some capital buildings, inevitably takes longer to get projects started and completed than we had hoped. So when we do the equations to factor that in as well, especially with 2 of the bigger buildings in the school district. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Mr. Cohen, I'm smiling because I've learned from some past experience within the district itself. What you just mentioned will be of high priority. So I just want to affirm that.
Oh, great, thank you. And again, I am also cognizant of sunk costs and putting bad money after good and so on as well, and trying to basically factor both those in. The other is more of a simple question, straightforward, which is for the administration building with the roof repairs. Are they repairing those with slate, or are they using other material for the roof?
Repairing it with slate.
Okay.
Only because it's not a full replacement, or so it just makes it's slate. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I turn over to the rest of the public, and because of the microphone, so to speak, there is a community member that did post some things in the Q&A, and I requested that she ask the questions during public comment, and she respectfully posted that she can't talk tonight. So I told her I would read her question comments on her behalf. So the individual is Sharon Roesser. That's last name is spelled Roesser, and she lives in Glenside. And her comments/questions are, I would like to comment on the high school building. My son was in the Jazz Festival this Friday. Our band hosted 6 other high schools. So we had busloads of kids and parents. After hearing all about the surrounding high school festivals and how nice the schools were, Cheltenham High School was just embarrassing. I'm not sure who this falls on, maintenance or the students. The students were loitering after school until 5, eating food in the lobby and leaving trash and food everywhere. No adult supervision. A few parents found, bear with me a second, a few parents found brooms and cleaned the lobby. The bathrooms had food, trash, Gatorade poured everywhere. We found a custodian and he of course cleaned them immediately. He and another custodian said they were like that every day. The front doors, I believe she meant where the buses let off, were alarmed and security didn't know how to turn them off. But they go off every time you open the doors and no one even pays attention. The auditorium had lights out and the mics didn't work, or the mics don't work. And lastly, mice in the halls. Again, just reading her statement/comments.
So I'm not going to even try to answer that at this point in time, with all due respect to the individual that posed the question and to the board. We will definitely investigate that inquiry. I definitely would need more context around the event and the activity. So I'll turn that over to Mr. Holman, and then we can circle back with an update and reach out to the individual that posed the question directly as well with a follow-up.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. And let me now turn it over to the rest of the public. If any other members of the public have any questions, if they can raise their hand and I'll call on you. I'll give it a minute or so. Okay, I see a hand from a panelist, and Jennifer, Ms. Sloman, it's funny, it's blending into the background, so it took a while for me to see it. But please, if you want to talk, please do so.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. I actually had a question, and if somebody tells me it's not appropriate to ask it here and ask it at some other point because it involves potential litigation, please let me know that. I am wondering though where things stand with the investigation into the Cedar Brook flooding. If we have any updates on that. If God forbid we've had any more flooding since we've had a lot of rain recently, or kind of where that all stands.
Yeah, we've been working diligently with Ed. It would be appropriate for him to address that question as our solicitor. So this would not be the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no more questions from the board and no other questions from the public, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn. Julie Haywood.
I'll entertain a second, please.
And Joel Fishbein.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Obviously, stay on the line.
Thank you.